Hans in luck. Once upon a time, there was a young lad named Hans who worked for a kind old shoemaker. One day, Hans decided to return home to his mother. As a farewell gift, the shoemaker handed him a huge lump of gold. Hans could scarcely believe his luck. Thanking his old master, he wrapped the lump of gold in his handkerchief and set off down the road. But he hadn't gone far before he began to feel weary. "This gold may be pretty, but it's ever so heavy," thought Hans. Just then, a horse came galloping across the field. "Oh, if I had a horse, my legs wouldn't ache from carrying this gold," cried Hans. The rider, hearing Hans, stopped his horse. "Well, if you really want this horse, I suppose I could swap it for that gold," he said. "That's very kind of you," said Hans, tossing the man the gold. Then he hopped onto the horse and continued happily on his way. After a few miles, the horse was startled by a mouse. Poor Hans tumbled from the horse's back and landed in a ditch. At that moment, a farmer passed by with his cow. "Oh, I wish I had a cow. They're so much safer than horses," cried Hans. "Now, I wouldn't want you to get hurt again," said the farmer. "How about I swap this cow for that horse?" "That's very kind of you," said Hans. And Hans, walking beside the cow, continued happily on his way. Soon, Hans's belly began to rumble. But when he tried to milk his cow, he found he couldn't get a single drop of milk. At the same time, a butcher strolled by with a pig. "Oh, if I had a pig, I'd have sausages for lunch," cried Hans hungrily. "I'm feeling generous," said the butcher. "Shall I swap this pig for your cow?" "That's very kind of you," said Hans, and with his pig, he continued happily on his way. Before long, Hans met a man sharpening knives on a grindstone. "If I had a grindstone, I'd always have money to buy food," said Hans. "What an intelligent young lad you are," said the man. "I'll tell you what, I'll swap this grindstone for your pig." "That's very kind of you," said Hans, and he heaved up the grindstone and continued happily on his way. But soon the stone grew horribly heavy. "I need a drink from that well," gasped Hans. Then, as he drew the bucket from the well, he knocked the stone into the water with a splash. But instead of growing angry or upset, Hans began to dance and skip. "What luck! Now I don't have to haul around that heavy stone." "I really am the luckiest chap in the world," laughed Hans. And, feeling happy and free, lucky Hans returned home to his mother.